It's a race to the left ahead of 2020 with Democrats promising voters a variety of free stuff. It's one thing to promise free health care, college, and even free income, but how much will all of this really cost? Joining us to break down the numbers, senior fellow at the National Taxpayers Union, Mattie Duppler. Mattie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great.
So this is a great deal. I can't wait for all the free stuff I'm going to get. What is perhaps the most alarming one, and we have the numbers on it, is of course Bernie Sanders leading this pack with the Medicare for all. The cost, $32.6 trillion over 10 years. What do you say about that?
Yeah, of course, we've heard a lot about Medicare for All. The interesting thing about Medicare for All is both liberal and conservative think tanks have estimated the cost of this program, and they both say it's going to be over $30 trillion. But of course, that's with some pretty rosy assumptions, like the fact that private providers will have to take a 40% pay cut if Medicare for All were going to go into place without cutting any of their services. I think we know that probably won't be the case, so $32 trillion is probably the floor and not the ceiling on the cost of this program.
Mattie, the one thing that I have talked to a lot of people who still are paying college debts, they're upset about Elizabeth Warren's debt-free college, but to some it's very appealing. Now it is going to cost $1.25 trillion over 10 years. What do we need to know about that?
I mean, what you need to know about that is there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's no such thing as free college. It's not free what Elizabeth Warren is proposing. It's just shifting the cost from people who have already paid for their college. And of course, debt forgiveness, what that does is that redistributes people who are well off, which we know overwhelmingly are people who go to college. The cost of those choices are redistributed to people who are maybe not as well off. So it's interesting to hear that from Elizabeth Warren, who likes to talk a lot about inequality, $1.25 trillion in spending. That's not getting paid just by the rich.
That's going to get a lot of talk about. Warren's also partnering with another candidate, Kirsten Gillibrand, on an affordable housing plan. We believe the number there, the affordable housing for all, is going to cost $445 billion over 10 years. But we don't know a lot about it. Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, and $445 billion might seem like a small number compared to the trillions we're talking about in some of these other programs. But remember, when you have a federal program that is giving out federal checks, that doesn't decrease the cost. It just defrays it from the people who are receiving that kind of money. So renters, high-density areas, the people that are supposed to be benefiting from these programs certainly will not have to pay as much out of their own pocket, but taxpayers will be subsidizing what will continue to be high-rising costs in high-density cities.
And quickly, Elizabeth Warren also talking about universal child care. That's $700 billion over 10 years. What do you say?
$700 billion over 10 years. She thinks that state and local will partner with federal governments in order to defray some of these costs. As we've seen with that stimulus plan back in 2008 and education spending at the federal level now, there's a lot of strings that come attached to federal dollars. That means state and localities will probably be on the hook for a lot of that spending long term. That means more taxes for state and local taxpayers.
All right, Mattie Duppler, thanks for breaking it all down for us. We'll find out. But as you pointed out in the beginning, nothing is for free. Have a great Saturday.
You too.
All right. Well, he's a veteran turned Ivy League journalist who helped expose what really happened in Benghazi, but he's never told his own